This is Allie Brown with thepress.net. I'm speaking today with Jessica Bouchot. Jessica was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer 3 years ago. And now during COVID, she's trying to spread the message about wearing masks and what the community can do to help people in the Cancer Society. Jessica, if you could kind of elaborate on what your experience has been and what you really want your community to know at this point.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jessica, a stage 4 colon cancer patient. And I have been in my home for 135 days, um, with exception of travel to the cancer center. And the same goes for my husband and my children because I'm extremely immune compromised. Uh, for me, masking is so important because if our community were to completely commit to the idea of masking for everyone, then it would mean that we could reduce the transmission rates and have less people who are walking around possibly exposing others. And it would mean that I could leave my home. I'm part of an invisible population that you won't see protesting and you won't see crying in the streets because we can't get out there and tell everybody. But we are all in our homes until the whole community gets behind us and decides to start wearing masks.
Thank you. And you had touched earlier on the fact that some of the communication around masks has been confusing. And you brought up a really great point about the consistency there. I was hoping you could elaborate on that again.
Yeah, I definitely think that the messaging around what kind of masks are best is confusing. Um, there's some people who think that only immune compromised people or sick people should wear, the most durable N95 masks. But really, what's best is if everybody wears, you know, a mask that's thick enough to actually stop particles and fits tight around your face and can reduce transmission from someone who is potentially carrying COVID and to people who are potentially being exposed to it. So it would be nice, I think, if we'd come out with some guidelines from the CDC on how many layers of fabric that has to be to make it effective. But until then, I think going with surgical masks seems like it's working in the major cancer centers. So if you can get your hand on surgical masks, that is what I recommend.
Wonderful. And right now, Jessica, you are going down to Orange County to receive treatments. And one of the challenges has been, the travel with your family and exposure. And at this juncture, you guys are hoping to secure an RV. Can you expand on what that experience, how that would change your experience to get your treatments at this point?
Absolutely. Our first trip down to Orange County, um, we planned for 2 weeks of travel. We booked a house, and we thought that that would be sort of the end of traveling down there, like uncomplicated. But as soon as we started packing for the trip, we realized we would have to pack disinfectants and, like I said, pack all of our food for 2 weeks because it's unsafe to go to grocery stores in high COVID areas, which Orange County is. And we had to bring everything to keep our kids entertained. We have to travel with our kids because we can't leave them with anyone because they could become a potential vector for bringing COVID back to me when they would come back home. And then, so the housing cost was more expensive because we had to rent the house for longer than we stayed there to ensure it was clean. And then when we actually got on the road, we realized that um, stopping and getting gas and using a restroom was also a risk for exposure. So we thought long and hard on it and decided that an RV, a way to, bring convenience of home with us and have peace of mind would be completely worth it because the stress of going into someone else's home and the stress of being on the road both seem to be unnecessary at this time when we're already going through a lot with having to go to this clinical trial 6 hours from home.
Thank you for expanding on that. At this juncture, you guys have raised about how much for that RV?
We're just over $40,000, which is so amazing. People have been incredibly generous. So we definitely have enough for, a good chunk of the payment to be done. And we're starting to reach out to RV sellers to see if someone will give us a wholesale price or a discount. I have a friend helping me make some of these phone calls, and we're just really hopeful that someone will hear the story and help us, make our money go the furthest distance.
Wonderful. And you said the community, your hometown community in Santa Rosa, especially, was very generous. Tell me about who was donating to this cause.
Yeah, so I grew up in Santa Rosa, California. I actually grew up out on a farm outside of town and went to Pioneer High School there. And I as the donations started rolling in, there were names popping up, and I was like, oh, that's my high school physics teacher. Oh, that's my high school cross country coach. Oh, my middle school cross country coach. And we're definitely not trying to pay too much attention to the donations. We're just grateful for everything. I mean, this is a hard time and nobody has extra money right now. So every single donation is equally as important. But um, seeing people either send me messages and say, we can't donate, but we're praying for you, or here's a little bit of money, has been like a who's who of my life. And I feel like it's been really touching because sometimes when people have cancer, they die, and then you hear all these amazing tributes to them and how they impacted, so many people. And I get to experience it when I'm here and I'm on a clinical trial, and all those people get to be a part of my healing. So, and I think that everyone loves that they feel like they're buying a little piece of this RV for us.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing with me today, Jessica. This is Allie Brown with the Press.net.